a plan now is needed. I do believe that it would, in fact, provide tonic, as you say, or a confidence in our business world and the world around us that now we've got our house in order. I think one of the things that's destabilizing our return to growth or weakening that is lack of confidence that we have our house in order and that we have a plan that would bring our house back in order. And balancing the budget in 10 years would be a really good goal, and I believe we could do it, but it wouldn't be easy, as you know, Mr. Chairman. You know it wouldn't be. So we are entering the budget season for fiscal year 2013. Producing a budget for public accountability and scrutiny represents one of the fundamental duties, I think, of a good government and a governing party, particularly during times of economic stress. Last time the Chamber's majority authored and presented to the floor a budget plan was in 2009. I believe that's 1,002 days ago. Senator Conrad, I do appreciate very much your thoughtful comments. You expressed desire to work on a budget resolution, and I look forward to working with you in a realistic, tough way, because it's not going to be easy to lay out a plan that works. For too long, Washington has been spending what we do not have, borrowing what we are not able to pay back. It's become a habit, a trend. Our debt is now greater than our entire gross domestic product. Our gross debt is pulling down growth today and casting a shadow of doubt on our economic future. I believe it is impacting growth today. We'd have higher growth today if we did not have as much debt as we have. Americans were promised that a surge in spending would lead to corresponding job creation. Maybe there's been some help there. Certainly the amount of money that's been spent certainly should have been, in the short run, provided some help. But I would just point out our job situation is not good. The number of people working today, 131.9 million, is less than in 2000. That was 132.5. We had more people work in the year 2000 than we have today. So the unemployment rate, the number of people on unemployment compensation is one thing. It's a valuable insight, but it's not the only thing. We're not creating sufficient jobs. I saw one of the French ministers this morning on BBC saying that they believe they've got to get their debt under control, but most importantly, make the French economy more productive and grow. The middle class is, I think, being squeezed from all directions. Real wages are declining. Inflation is at 3%, real wages at 2%. That's not a winning combination when you're not adding real numbers of jobs and not having a real income. Declining food and energy prices are rising. Job prospects remain scarce. Health expenditures, which we hoped and were told would go down, are going to be, by the end of this year, up for a family of 4 by $200 a month, $2,400, according to CBO. So after nearly $5 trillion in new debt over just 3 years, the government is continuing to grow while the middle class is continuing to shrink. And what makes matters worse, I think, is that the growth we have seen has been too much driven by unsustained borrowing by the government. This is not a solid foundation in my view. The CBO warned us, for instance, that the President's first stimulus package, and they accounted for this carefully, ultimately would be a net drag on the economy. Yes, they said you would have a short-term benefit, but that stimulus is now gone. The money is spent. The benefit short-term is now gone, but we're carrying the burden of that debt still. So we're adopting policies that I'm afraid have leaving us weaker, not stronger, in the long run. In his State of the Union Tuesday, President Obama had a chance to tell the American people the truth about the depth of the danger we face, as the Debt Commission told us. He missed perhaps his last opportunity to rally the American people to make some tough decisions that will feel tough, but won't require us to savage this government spending. So I was astonished at how little the President spoke of our mounting debt and fiscal obligations. Over 10 years, the Super Committee finally agreed, as you know, Mr. Chairman, only in $2 trillion in reduction of deficits instead of the 4 that we've been told repeatedly is the absolute minimum. Mr. Zandi, I remember, interrupted one of the discussions to say, I want to say, Senator, this is the 4 is the minimum. And you've said you'd like to see more. We'll spend $45 trillion in the next 10 years, and we'll add $12.4 trillion to the gross debt. So I don't think a $4 trillion reduction in that expected growth of debt is too much to ask. I really don't. The President outlined no plans to go beyond that $2.4 million. He even called for spending half of the war saving, the money that we were borrowing to fund the war. We were hoping to reduce that amount of borrowing and stop increasing the debt by bringing the war costs down. And now he proposes expending at least half of that on new programs. So that's a concern. We hear the argument that spending cuts should be deferred, but this, I think, goes against common sense and really more the political reality. The American people are really ready to hear the truth, and they're willing to take some action. We've got economists that say cutting spending now would be the perfect time, raising taxes now would be the perfect time. You should, next June, cut taxes by a certain amount. But this is the political world. We're not able to make decisions like that. We have to move when we have the consensus to move, and I'm really troubled that we might lose the consensus we have to make some real good changes that I thought the last election led us to. Mr. Chairman, I'd offer more of my remarks for the record, but I would just say we should focus on solid policies, creating jobs without adding to debt wherever possible. More growth, more jobs without more debt. That means more domestic energy exploration, American energy, fewer burdensome regulations, the ones that don't work and don't provide benefit, a streamlined tax code focused on growth, more free market competition in health care, not more government domination, a trade and immigration policy that serves our national interest and legitimately protects our American workers. It means making the government leaner itself and more productive. That would make America stronger and healthier. The President says he wants America built to last, but we can't do that on borrowed money. Debt is not an asset. Spending is not the virtue. Borrowing cannot be our future.